guys? Hope you're all doing well. Hope you all had a nice Canada Day or Independence Day or whatever you have in your country. So hope you all had a good time. So today we're just having a look here at Bitcoin. So we're going to do a technical analysis just to go over the last week of data. Just have a look at it. Just go through it quickly. So we'll just start on BTC USD. So this week we had a red week. Still moving down. It's kind of moving down towards support still. So I'll just draw kind of the low that we had, the all-time, well, not the all-time low, but the recent low after the bull run. So I'll just put a horizontal line at the bottom of 28. So 28K was the low. So for the weekly, we're on the weekly charts. We're looking at the weekly candles. We are below the EMA9 and the EMA2. Actually, we're a little bit above the EMA2. We did come below. We're still drifting below the 9 and the middle average price. We have these channels, so that's the middle of the Keltner. The default RSI, the yellow line, it's still heading down. There is still a bit of room to where it was before, so it's at 42, so we could come down maybe around somewhere around here between 20 and 20, maybe 26. So somewhere in there we still have room for it to head down, and again that could still be diverging for a while. So we do have, we'll just go over the momentum. So on the faster MACD we have a little bit of momentum trying to push up, but we could see some red bars here. We do have an inflection to the downside right there. It's still kind of inflecting down. I think it's looking, personally, I think it's looking for another break to the downside, just because it's basically from the monthly candle, so we'll go over that in a sec. But the default is still heading down. We could see these bars start going red again. We might see a little bit of retracement, but depends. The point is the monthly chart here, so there's a lot of momentum starting to the downside. We do have these, the default MACD, it's still crossing down. There's a lot of room here to this zero line. So we discussed that before. That's the where it is currently, and the inflection to negative infinity. It's still, whoops, the slope is still to negative infinity, so it's still heading down. It hasn't even crossed yet, so that's why I still think it's heading down, and that weekly chart might reset a little bit and continue back down. We do have the faster MAC. It did cross over. We discussed that. Shorter time period indicators are starting to get a little bit oversold, but we may see another break before that, so just be careful if you're trying to long a shorter period indicator. That can always change. Again, it's not for sure. We do have momentum still heading down, so it's still inflected here to the downside. Whoops, is there like a pen or something? No, actually, yeah, there's an arrow. So it's still kind of like that, like the slope. It's still negative towards negative infinity. So that's basically, it's just bearish. It's still bearish. We do, unless there's an inflection basically crossing back up from oversold, back heading into the neutral, then there's nothing that would really be really strong to go off. So just keep watching that and wait, because you can get stuck here. Again, if it wanted to continue down, just be careful. Like if it wanted to still go down and you bought here and it still went down before it moved up, then you can get caught here. So just be careful. Just because it's oversold doesn't mean it's a time to enter. It could still diverge for a while, right? It could go lower while price still went, or it could go down while price still went down. Basically no divergence there, but it still can go down, so just be careful. Again, we have the default not even crossed yet, and we did mention that when it did cross, it did have a long run down. You know, we haven't even crossed yet, so if we were like here, then we'd still have a long way down, right? And another, at least like almost a year. So there's, again, support is all the way back here. First support, it's at 13, so there's still a ways to go. We haven't reached that center line yet, the yellow line, the middle channel. So I think it's just a slow movement to the downside. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe we might see a little bit of retracement at some point, but you know, this hasn't even crossed over yet, so that's why I still think it's a dangerous buy here, because it could still be going down for a while. And all these cycles, these can change. They can make new cycles, so this isn't for sure. This is just some data to go off, because we did mention the strong divergence here. Whoops. On these monthly candles, see the slope is negative on the indicators, and then the price moves sharply up, so then that could be diverging to a new cycle, right? So it could be, look, see how sharp these peaks are compared to the other ones. Let me just remove these lines. See how, zoom in a little bit, see how these peaks are more rounded, like the slope is more, it's not as negative, right? But the slope here is it's very sharp, so you can see the change in momentum, the change in, it's an inflection point. Basically, they're really sharp. So the slope change from positive to negative, that's an inflection. So the inflection here, the slope here is much more negative than this one. This one is more positive. You can see it's rounder, right? And this one's super sharp. This one is kind of rounded. It's like a circle, like a half circle. But this one, it's like a it's like a triangle. It's very sharp. It's almost an instant inflection point. So that's a sharp inflection. That's why I still think we'll see at least a retrace to that support at 13. So all these other lower time frames are just all resetting. That's what I'm thinking. They have to reset before they continue to just follow the bigger time frame. So this 1 month, it's following the 1 year candles, and the 1 year candles are following the 10-year candles, and so on. So it just kind of, they're all kind of following each other. But we did note the shorter time period indicators might get reset, but just be careful on that. Just don't rush into buying too fast if you were looking for that, because it could still be heading down. So we'll just go over the daily candles. So we had a few red days. We might see a break here, so watch for that. But we are starting to come down. Might see a little bit of bullish momentum that could flash back red. We did have a cross down here on the default MACD. So I'd wait on that, because that's a slower indicator, the default setting, so it could be lagging for a little bit more of downward momentum. Because have a look at this cycle. It was at least, you know, how many weeks is that? 2 weeks, right? That's almost maybe a little bit more, a few days in a 2-week cycle, and that's on a cross up. So on a cross down, it could be possible that it could be at least, if we were saying a 50% probability of a 2-week cycle, could maybe be at least another 3 or 4 days. But that's just a probability. And that cross up started here technically. So it's even more of a probability of this possibly crossing back down, because have a look. The cross up here was at the beginning of the end of May, so May 31st for the daily candles. It crossed up for how many weeks, right? It kind of checked here. It had a slope, it had a resistance here, almost resistance area. It checked, and then it's crossing here on resistance. And then now you can see that if I remove those lines again, have a look at that cross up. So all the way here. So it starts here, cross, well, it bottomed here, crossed here. First cycle on the up movement was here, had a little bit of cross down. Whoops. Cross down, and then cross back up quickly. And then now we're crossing down, so we're checking at resistance here, basically. And you can see how, like, that cross up was a long cross up, and that cross down ended quickly, so perhaps we could see a longer cross down. That's all I'm saying. And we are seeing a break of the zero line here on the histogram, right? We're breaking the zero line at 0, which is up here, and we're just starting to go below 0, so we could be seeing this move down for a little bit. We do have the shorter period indicators again getting a little bit oversold. So you can see this red line, it goes up and down, right? Up, so it's oversold, overbought, oversold, neutral, oversold, overbought, oversold. So we might see something, maybe not right now. It could continue down before it continues up, but just watch those too. So we'll just check the 4 hour. A little bit of change in direction since we had the low earlier today. So that was at it would have been 12 p.m. New York time where it inflected. Had a little bit of a day trade here, and perhaps we might see a little bit up, maybe a little bit higher if it wants to run, but we do have the red candle starting. We have the shorter period indicators getting almost back up here, so perhaps that's might be ending soon. So we'll have to see what the other so default RSI is a little bit oversold. We'll have to see the 2 hour. You can check the 3 hour too. So again, we have the shorter periods coming up high, starting to come up high. So nothing for sure here. No bottoms and no tops. Just kind of neutral on the shorter time frames. 1 hour is getting a little bit overbought, not yet, but starting to. 45, kind of same idea, starting to get overbought maybe. Some bearish momentum starting as we speak. Let's see if maybe it could push higher, but we do have the break of the overbought zone heading back to neutral. So watch that zone, and you can check that with like a default RSI, or you can even mess with Pine Script if you want to try to like change the inputs and maybe write your own indicator. Like I made an indicator. I might upload it to GitHub, but I've only made one because it was just like a hobby thing. It's a moving average 1.5. I can try to upload it at some point if I remember. I called it Daha, so DAHA. So 15 minute is starting to get overbought a little bit. Coming overbought. We do have the couple red candles starting. No volatility, no super crazy volatility right now. And so what's an example of super crazy volatility? So something like this here. Where'd it go? I think it was here. Where is it? Was it there? No. We have mentioned it before, so that's a little bit. That dump, right? That dump here, it was kind of volatile. Like it was just a quick dump, and there was a lot of selling, and it moved, 5,000 points or something, right? 4,000 points in like a couple sets of 15 minutes, right? Three or four candles. That's not the strongest volatility ever, but it's pretty strong. And you can see and that was measured by these channels and the moving averages. So we drifted below these, the 9 and the 2. We came below that center line. So you can use anything. You can use moving averages are good too. Some people use Bollinger Bands, but you can use whatever you want. But we did see the momentum. We did have we had the bullish convergence here, so the price moved lower. And actually no, we didn't have any bullish convergence. We did have just a textbook drop, and the momentum just picked up. You can see the histogram inflected here, went from negative to positive, and that's where the volume started to come in for a buy. It lasted for a little while. Again, you would have had to check the bigger time frames. So again, if you're looking at the 1 month, you can see that the momentum is heading down. And if you were trying to buy that, you would be buying against the overall momentum, the strong trend. So you have to be careful. Again, that's what can happen with shorter time period indicators. So on the 5, we'll just go over what's happening now. We had the little bit of selling. We have the default RSI, the yellow line. It was overbought. Again, the 5 changes pretty quickly, so I usually don't go anywhere below the 15 too often. And here's some bullish convergence. So the price moved down. So an example of what I was trying to show before. The momentum moved up here, and the price moved down, and we had so also here on the default MACD, and you can also get into the histograms moving up too as the price moved down overall. Histogram moved up, so you can see here. Histogram moved up overall, right, at that point. You can look at these like peaks. So here's a peak to look at for your first peak, and here's like a second peak to look at. So here's your first peak, and here's your second peak to look for momentum. And the default one's pretty clear here, but it was a little bit slower. But the signal line started to round up. So you have to be like really looking closely, right, at all these inflections. So, negative slope, negative, 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 nothing, positive till here. I mean, you have to zoom in close as you can to see, but nothing was positive. So from here to here, it's all negative slope, negative infinity, negative infinity, negative infinity, negative infinity, negative infinity, negative, negative, and here's your first positive infinity inflection. So the signal line wasn't too bad here. And we'll just draw a vertical line at the point where it closed. It might have been kind of flashing up, might have checked, moved down, that's the thing, right? But when it closed, we'll have a look at it inflected. So there was a close. So the flash might have helped. And then again, this is just a little example. There's better ones when the trend is so you would have a little bit. So if you would have bought here, you would have got a little bit. But again, that's risky because the trend overall was heading down. But if everything was lined up, like the overall trend was actually opposite and we were heading up, then this could have ran a lot more. So that if that was true, then that would have all helped. So that's why I'm saying be careful. So I'll see you guys next time, and take care.